As frontman of The National, Matt Berninger has established himself as one of the preeminent songwriters of the last half-century. A career spanning over 3 decades and multiple seminal albums has led us to his latest effort, Get Sunk, which was released mid-last year to a glowing reception. I caught up with Matt to chat about sunken places, the role of art in healing, and more.
So you live in Connecticut at the moment?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, moved here about 2 years ago from Venice, California. I'd been there for about 10 years with my wife and daughter, and we all moved here about 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
My daughter started high school up here, and it's been great.
Cool. Well, Matt, for those who aren't familiar with you and your work, could you introduce yourself and a little bit of what you do?
Yeah, primarily I'm the lead singer, lyricist, frontman of The National. And that's been doing that for about 25 years. I've also got a lot of other projects. I used to be a graphic designer and a creative director, and so I do a lot of art, but I've been doing a lot of solo stuff. I've got a project called Elvi, but I'm coming to Australia as like a intimate trio situation, doing some national songs and doing a lot of solo songs. There we go.
Well, you've been a musician for, I suppose it'd be over 30 years now, across several different projects. You mentioned The National and Elvi, and your solo work, of course. How do each of these creative projects nourish you differently?
That's funny. I don't go into them in any different way. You know, I don't like approach them differently from my perspective, but because I'm kind of working with the different musicians and just different people and different people in the room and the chemistry is always different. They all are really satisfying and enriching and challenging in all different ways. So, you know, I think with The National, we're making records right now where but it's kind of like, you get to a thing in a band after a while. It's like, it's almost like, you know, making another movie with the exact same cast and crew and everybody in the same roles and the same, you know, sometimes records start to feel a little bit like there's movie sequels, you know, and I think all of us, like to go and just change up the kind of the environment and the kind of the thing. So I don't know. I mean, I get the same kind of excitement out of all of them, you know, and they all feed each other in a good way. And I also do a lot of visual art, and I just I don't know. I'm just really lucky that I've an opportunity to make art with so many different people and stuff like that. And the National's always been really good about that, you know. And we all started, you know, kind of. I was almost, you know, in my 30s before anything started happening with that band. So it wasn't like we had this like hot successful thing where we were like our band was our whole world, you know. It kind of happened. We all had other worlds already. And so that's been a healthy thing to keep our band together, I think.
In terms of having a life before the music career and before the sort of broader recognition.
All of us have a lot of things in our lives that give I mean, everyone does. I mean, you know, but I think the fact that the National kind of got started a little bit later. We weren't a cool hot band in our early 20s or anything like that. You know, like I was almost 30 before the idea of really not having to do something else with my life even entered my mind, you know. And so, you know, and I was already, you know, with the woman I was about to marry and stuff. And so there's just something, I think. There's also 2 sets of brothers in that band, you know, and so there's the roots of our kind of creative partnership and our old friendships and the family and stuff have survived a lot of storms, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so we've been through storms, interpersonal storms, you know, private personal storms, but The National is a that does bend in that stuff and has stayed rooted in some way, yeah.
And particularly in these sort of more recent last 3, I suppose, national albums, inviting other artists into your work seems to have become more central to the creative process. How does collaboration affect the work with people outside of the immediate sphere of the National?
I think that started way back with like Sufjan Stevens and Saint Vincent, Andy Clark, and then Justin Verne and Bon Iver and coming in, and ultimately I think a lot of that was ways of trying to keep ourselves excited. And so when like Bryce and Padma, from the Clogs, that's Bryce is Aaron's brother. They kind of when they joined after a couple of years of the band existing, it was more fresh collaboration, more fresh, geniuses in the room. And so we've always just had kind of an open policy of people coming in, and then with working with different people, whether it's Taylor Swift or Roseanne Cash or Sharon Van Etten or all, we just have said so many really people, and then filmmakers, and we've been really lucky to have a lot of really brilliant people, Phoebe Bridgers jumping in and kind of helping us, reinvent ourselves as a band in some way or try things. And so that's been really a enriching thing for this band. But I don't know how much. I think we've been writing kind of a lot of songs kind of singularly lately, and just because everybody got so many other things, I think we're kind of recently been writing as a kind of a little private little unit without, we're kind of this time where the doors are kind of closed for a while, which is also nice.
Takes the
It feels
pressure
like
off,
we're
I
in
would think.
yeah, we're in a kind of a different we're kind of hibernating together writing right now, the band, and which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have it have a small party.
Totally. Let's talk about your solo stuff. Get Sunk
Yeah.
is such a great title for a record, and it's one that clearly resonates with a lot of people. What do you think the role of the title is in an album? Is it something predetermined? Does it dictate the direction of the work?
Well, weirdly, I think I wrote that I started writing that song, I think maybe even pre-pandemic, and that was one of these leftover but then that happened, and I'd done a solo record called Serpentine Prison, and that came out right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I kept writing and writing, but then when the pandemic but that song had been written and what was or a lot of it, and I put away so many songs because I didn't wanna revisit a lot of stuff because I had a long period of kinda depression in the pandemic, and my flame sorta went out. And then with the last 2 national records kinda came out of that, and ever since then, revisiting old stuff I'd written and then writing a lot of new stuff. Strangely, I'm kind of turning these they were I don't wanna say they were premonitions, I hate to say that because then it makes me worried about what the hell I'm gonna write next with the fear that's gonna happen. But that song title did feel, for this record, did feel good because I was I was writing with some perspective. I wasn't writing from underneath, from being sunk. I mean, I had already been sunk. Those national records, I was writing from a sunken place, a lot of that. But the writing of Get Sunk, I was writing most of that looking back on that and kind of, and from a different perspective, a much more not I won't say necessarily optimistic, but healthier perspective. I was looking at that kind of getting sunk. So, yeah, the getting sunk could apply to a lot of things, but it did become really personal for me for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you said that this record's sort of come to be from at the back end of a dark period for you. From your perspective, what is the role of an artist's art in their recovery from something like that?
That's a great question. I mean, it was a strange thing. I didn't wanna make art anymore. I didn't even wanna listen to music, or I didn't wanna watch TV. It's there's something happens when depression and anxiety, and what I ended up getting, kind of the few months of it was just real it was just real genuine, major depressive disorder for a little while. I could barely get out of bed. And that's a different thing. But a big part of it was I could not figure out, like, if I didn't wanna make art and I couldn't get inspired by art for whatever reason, like, what was I gonna do with my life? And, it wasn't till I started chipping away and getting back in the studio with the National and making art again that I it's a chicken and the egg thing. It's like I was kind of forced to make art again, and the art I was forced to go back to make did pull me out of the depression, you know? And, one of the things. Also, I was getting some sleep, and I took some antidepressants for a little while, just for a few months, but it raised the floor. But yeah, but now I really I try to just kinda keep I go through days or weeks when I can't make anything, but I know that's also part of the phase of being an artist. Don't beat yourself up if you run dry or you feel like your flame is out for a while. It's a you know, it's that's your I think of that as being in sponge mode, you know, just like sometimes you just gotta like binge watch TV or stare out the window, you know, or just drive, you know, in the desert and not think about anything. That's like sponge mode, and that can, you know, that can be depressing and create a lot of an anxiety, but learn to be okay with that in yourself. I think I hated myself so much because I couldn't write, and that added to, you know, the problem.
So for those of us who aren't artists and are maybe in sunken places, just as a human being, what do you recommend as an antidote to that?
When we talk about being an artist, I think everything you're going out every day and you're making choices all day long of like, do you want life to be filled, you know, with moments of joy? Even if you're driving through traffic and somebody cuts you off, do you wanna do you wanna, like, add to the anger and beep and give them the finger and add to that? Or do you just wanna, like, slow down, let them go around you and pay more attention to the conversation you're having with your teenager in the car. That I mean, that's you know, that was me this morning. So that's the whole thing. It's like micro decisions all day long. So art helps me try to make a rough day delightful, you know, and if I can, just like why we go to that's why we listen to music or go watch TV and stuff like or concerts and you know, go to movie theaters and stuff like that. Like art does allow you to is a thing that inspires you to see mostly the world can be mostly good, you know, and sometimes you by sucking on by absorbing so much negativity, sometimes you feel like the world is mostly bad. And you know, everybody you can have really bad times and people go through rough things and obviously it's one of those things though genuinely, I think art or whatever you're doing on just the how you interact on a micro level with the person at the coffee shop is art, you know, is you're trying to just, you know, connect to something bigger and something more lovely than just you and your stress, you know?
Let's talk about the art that you enjoy as a consumer of art rather than a producer of art. This is something I
Yeah.
ask of everybody that I interview, but if you could play me any album, what would you play me? Feel free to pick three because one tends to be a little limiting.
The like any album, like just an album to check out?
Something that has resonated with you and that you feel has a universality to it that just about anybody would get something out of it.
Well, I mean, I always, weirdly, I mean, I talk about, Willie Nelson's, Stardust record, and that might be just a personal thing, for me, but that one is one of those that there's just something about, it's a very poignant, sad record, and it's a lot of it's covers, but that always just I mean, it's got a song called Blue Skies, and the beauty of just, the beautiful just the beautiful way he articulates the songs on that record is one of those just simple, just beautiful desert island things that always lifts me. And then you know, I mean, Blood on the Tracks, I mean, that's one of those mystery albums that I unpack anew every time I go into it.
What do you like about it?
I mean, it's heartbreaking. There's so many honest, crushing things. I mean, Dylan, he goes, he does that a lot, but like, there's certain records of his where you feel like he kind of gets closer to the bone, and that's one. Time Out of Mind is another one.
Sure.
Am I allowed to do two Dylan and a Willie Nelson?
You can do two Dylan. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Now I want to say Life's Rich Pageant, R.E.M. So yeah, I'll just say Blood on the Tracks, Life's Rich Pageant, and Stardust by Willie Nelson.
Awesome. Just a couple more from me, Matt. When can we expect something new from the National? I know that you said it's behind closed doors and it's a very private sort of hibernation period, but as a matter of personal interest, I thought I'd ask.
Not this year, but we've been hanging out. I've been writing for a long time. We've been collecting a lot of stuff from a lot of. There's a lot. We've been in sponge mode. We just like everybody's been in starting to send stuff around, and I've been diving in pretty deep for a while. But then I put it away for a long time, and then go back, and so, yeah. But yeah, things are definitely bubbling. A lot of stuff is bubbling, so that's been really fun, and yeah, vibes are all really good there. So,
on a personal note, I just want to say thank you. I promised myself if ever I got the chance to meet you or speak to you that I would tell you your music has just been totally indispensable in my emotional development. Sort of just
mine too.
Yeah, totally right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like through my teenage years and into my early 20s, and now, of course, your work has a similar place in my heart to the likes of Blood on the Tracks and Time Out of Mind, like these records that you just keep going back to and finding new, beautiful, very human things in. So thank you. Thanks for the music.
I appreciate you saying that's very kind of you. That's nice. That makes me feel really great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. I'm looking forward to seeing your show.
Yeah, I'll see you there. You going to be there?
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks, James. Bye.